more Pokemon Go news. It's still in the news. It's still tons of fun for everyone, Ian.
I'm enjoying it still, although a lot of people are complaining about it. Before I get into that, though, I wrongly guessed at how quickly I thought the burn off on this game was going to be.
You said like a month or a couple weeks?
I honestly thought it was only going to take maybe 2 weeks. And Vonnie and I went out for ice cream last night, and we're playing a little as we're walking around up and down the street. And I mean, there was a mom and her kid playing, and at the ice cream shop we're sitting outside at the table and there's people playing. We went out for lunch yesterday. Vonnie and I haven't had a day off together in like 2.5 weeks because of Comic-Con and work schedules and stuff like that. So we were out and about yesterday, and everyone's still playing the game. And I mean, that really kind of makes me happy to a degree, seeing people out and having a good time. But Niantic made some changes recently, and probably their biggest update, and a lot of them are upsetting people. And I'm sure I'll get flack for this because I get flack for fucking everything. But some of these changes I don't necessarily understand why they're upsetting people. The first big change is that Pokemon tracking has been completely not completely removed, but changed for what many people say is the worst. Except for the fact that Pokemon tracking never worked in the first place. Oh. So Pokemon tracking, when you're playing the game, in the lower right-hand corner, it would show 3 Pokemon, and underneath it would be footprints. Ideally, how this was supposed to work would be 3 footprints meant that they were within 200 meters of each other, within 200 meters of you. 2 footprints would mean 100, and 1 footprint would mean 50, and no footprints meant that it was real close to you. And if you started tapping within your circle area, like the radius that would ping out from you, you might get it to pop up without it just showing up randomly. Because most of the time,
you can see it and you can try to capture it.
Yeah. Now, most of the time, the Pokemon would just appear if you were close enough, but you could sometimes, rattle them out of the bushes or whatever.
Okay.
So, problem was there was something known as the 3-step glitch, and that was basically all Pokemon were always shown to be 3 steps away. Only ever once did I ever see Pokemon not 3 steps away, and that was once I saw no footprints under a Pokemon. I tapped wildly, and it appeared. Every other time I played, since the very beginning of me playing, it was always 3 steps away. So, in essence, Pokemon tracking has always been broken.
It's always been broken.
It's always been broken. So, in the new update, they completely eliminated the footprints instead of fixing the problem. Now, supposedly, Niantic has said they're not going to fix it. And they said they're not going to fix it because they've determined that it would cause too many problems. And I think their big fear is that with the footprints there, kind of giving you a rough idea of how close you might be, you're more likely to start wandering into places you maybe shouldn't be wandering into. So if you get too close to private property or something like that, you might start wandering into it. But this has really pissed off a lot of people, essentially taking a part of the game out that they thought would improve the experience. On one hand, I get it. You kind of want to know when you're getting closer to a Pokemon. But on the other hand, it never worked, and it never bothered people's initial enjoyment of it. So you're complaining about the removal, quote unquote, of a feature that was never really there in the first place.
Sure.
So that's one point I don't get. The other is the shutdown of external tracking sites. A lot of these used sort of hacking into Niantic's data to basically show you what Pokemon were more common in what areas at any given time. Basically so that you could sort of cheat the game, log onto these websites and look at maps and sort of see where the Pokemon were. Now, from what I understand, some of these were word of mouth, which is kind of okay. That I'm sort of okay with. The game is designed to foster community, and that's all right. But I also have no issue with Niantic looking at some of these and shutting down the ones that are against their terms of service. That's totally within their right. And if you're messing with their program, I also don't really see a whole lot of issue with this. some more innocuous or less problematic updates. Now when you start the game, it's pretty funny. As soon as you start the game, it gives you a series of warnings, such as do not play Pokemon Go while driving.
Oh yeah.
Or do not trespass onto private property while driving. Or when you start the game and it's loading, it says be aware of your surroundings. And then when it loads you into the game screen, sometimes it will again say, please be aware of your surroundings. Because people are driving while playing Pokemon. People are constantly bumping into people while playing Pokemon, and they're not being aware of their surroundings. There's a story from Australia.
Oh, yeah.
About that park in Australia that... I'm not sure what makes this one so special because it shows 3 Pokestops that constantly have lures, and if you go to Balboa Park in San Diego, for instance, it's the same thing, where people crowd there at night.
What makes this is in the middle of a suburb,
right? Sure,
so people live there. So basically, their park went from being quiet to overrun with people.
Yeah,
like we're talking a little vandalizing. We're talking the fields being destroyed because grass walked on too much becomes like mud and dirt. I saw a video where they were clogging the streets. This is let's see, Patterson Park. So basically, there was a video at night where people are on the sidewalks, both sides, and cars literally have to honk to get people out of the way.
Right. There was a story about how a fire truck couldn't get through because people were crowding the streets, and they couldn't get to a fire in a timely manner.
Oh, excuse me, it's Peg Patterson Park. That's what it is.
And, I mean, obviously, that's ridiculous. And, that's when a game gets taken too far. I love this game. I love that it's bringing people together. I like the fact that it's creating, a social scene around it. But people have got to use their heads. You got to stay out of the streets. You can't fucking be blocking a goddamn fire truck.
Is this, I guess, for the weird part where, like, people are traveling, looks like...
upwards of 12
miles away to get to this park to capture more Pokemon. It's like... That's, to me, again, that's where I'm totally disconnected this. Objectively, that's where it gets scary to me. When it drives people to do things like that, and then now the whole neighborhood gets turned upside down for a while. But they did put in a request, Niantic, to get rid of that as, was it 3 Pokestops in one location? They were eliminated, so no one's going there anymore. So I guess they'll have to iron out these. Well, that's a real life bug.
Yeah.
That's fucked with people, like. But what can you do?
There are a couple other updates, just 2 more that I'll touch on. I think there was probably a couple more, but just 2 more that I'll touch on that have got one in particular I don't understand. People were complaining that, in some areas you can't catch certain Pokemon, or that certain common Pokemon were appearing too often. Well, in the game, common Pokemon appear too often too. They're common. It's realistic to the game. Yeah. So various like Pokemon spawning, how the Pokemon spawn, are spawning more varied Pokemon, and this has led to some unrealistic things like certain water Pokemon spawning in like dry or deserty areas, which. And some certain common Pokemon are spawning slightly less, and now people are complaining about this. Which is ridiculous. One major complaint, though, that I do have a beef with is in the iOS version, they took out the battery saver mode. Now, what the battery saver mode does is if you turn your phone upside down, it darkens the screen so as to save some of your battery.
Okay. It's not always on.
Now, so the game stays on, and it will vibrate if a Pokemon pops up, so that you can, pull your phone out of your pocket, flip it back upwards, and then, go about what playing the game. But it caused a lot of errors, so that when you pulled it out and then you flipped it back upwards, the screen would go dark again. I imagine this is something that Niantic is going to work on and hopefully, reinstitute. But what's interesting is that these changes have caused the game to go from a pretty high star rating all the way down to like a 1.5 star rating. And it's people complaining to complain. They say that Pokemon are running away more in battle. Some people see this as being an attempt to, waste Pokeballs and get people to spend more money on it. My current play experiences, I haven't really seen a higher occurrence of this, but I'm not going to doubt people when they say that's the truth. Also, it is a free-to-play game. They want you to spend money. I have dumped exactly $0 into this game since playing and have had a really enjoyable experience. Vani, who plays it a lot more than me, has put $10 into it and has probably gotten over $60 worth of. I mean, if you try to compare it to a game that you buy off the shelf, she's probably gotten far more than $60 worth of game enjoyment out of it. So I can't necessarily fault them for looking at it and being like, well, maybe our pay-to-play model was a little too lenient.
Yeah, and this is before they're gonna put in player versus player battles.
Yeah,
which would be great because you'll have people getting pissed at each other in person, and then like they'll go from looking at their phones to swinging at each other with fists when their Pokemon gets defeated. So interesting things happening because of this phenomenon that I predicted would die down after 6 months. We'll see. We're almost a month in right now.